a comfortable way of wearing this.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That works?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were a lot of food, a lot of fun, a lot of heat. So I went home and passed out for about 2 hours, woke up kind of brain dead. So got to get things going here. But Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the name of, obviously our creator, our Lord. I want to begin tonight with a very, very important topic. And all these series that we've done so far have been building upon themselves. And they've been focusing a lot on the modern world, obviously, and a lot of the traps and the setbacks. And today we're going to be focusing on what I like to call Shaytaan's biggest trick. And first, we're going to outline a lot of the background on feel like one of those singers where you see them on TV, they're recording in the studio, and they get for the mic like right. That's not okay. I know. Very distracting. Even the echo is back at me. Can they hear me without this thing, or is it? Is that okay?
System.
Can you guys hear me good?
I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to get a little bit of a background, as we always do, why we're here, what we're going to be talking about, and then we're going to go from there and apply this to the modern world, because I think this is one of the most important topics, because you could be a perfect Muslim in your own mind and then find out later on that you've been doing something quite dangerous. Quite disturbing, so to speak. And we're going to break down that. You're going to understand what I mean as we get going here. So who is Shaytaan? The title of tonight's lecture is Shaytaan's biggest trick. So first, let's get a little bit of framework here. Who is the Shaytaan? We all know as Muslims, we find stories mentioned in our Quran, of Shaytaan. You see basically first and foremost, you see it in Surah Baqarah. You see it in 234. And we said to the angels, make prostration to Adam, and they did, except for Iblis. Iblis basically refused because he was proud. Iblis said, I'm better than this creation of yours. You made him from black mud. You made me from fire. So we already see there a little bit here who this character is in relationship to humanity. I want to pull up a poll. We look at the modern world, and keep this quote in mind. We're going to build a little bit more here. New York Times did a story a few years ago where they found that 62%, and these are of religious people in the United States of America, denied that, as they would call it, the devil, as we would call it, Iblis or Shaytaan, even exists. They were under the impression it's a metaphor for evil. There is no physical being, so to speak. It's just simply a figment of human imagination. 62%. 95% of those people believed in God. Now, this is the West. And kind of the themes of my lectures have been what happens in the West comes to the East, eventually. But you are seeing this stuff spread. We have a saying in English, the greatest trick of the devil is convincing you he doesn't exist. And this is how it pulls the guard down of the human being. And we're already seeing what is going on here in this study. And I looked at quite a bit when preparing for this presentation. We found quite a bit of these studies, all mirroring the same results. That you were finding people on one hand, yes, I believe in God, but that devil thing, no, I don't believe in that. That's too far-fetched. So the Shaytaan is accomplishing his promise of getting people to believe that he does not exist. We're going to move on, here. So what has gone on over the years? Let's first and foremost look at if you were going to attack out of jealousy a creation of the one true God. What are you going to try to attack first and foremost? You are going to attack that being from its very fabric, its very making, its purpose of creation. Well, what were we created for? Well, all we have to do is go to Quran 51:56, and you will find out exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for. I did not create the jinn and mankind except for my worship. Right there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us the only reason, the main sole purpose of our creation was for the purpose of ibadah, of worship. And we have the Sheikh here to kind of clarify if I say anything wrong about the deep meaning of ibadah. Because if you say worship to someone in the West, in America or England, an English-speaking nation, they immediately imagine, someone just simply doing this all day long. They don't understand the extent of what ibadah and worship is. Ibadah is any act pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from zakah, from charity, from fasting, from salah, from anything that we do. So when Allah says the purpose of your creation is for ibadah, for worship, it is for totality, an entire existence of us in dedicating our actions to Him.
Actually, that's very important here. What is in original Arabic language, the meaning of shaitan? Musa, what is shaitan is? The meaning in Arabic. Shaitan الذي شطأ عن الحق. I mean, for example, the beach here, the beach was شاطئ. The beach was شاطئ. Why? Transgress, and to transgress. So the shaitan invade the what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. Number one. Number two, ibadah. Brother Youssef is here, ibadah. What's ibadah? Ibadah, we're going to say deen. But the original in the Arabic language, ibadah is when we have a road, and when you make the road straight, no bumps, no that, straight, soft, straight. We Arabic عبدت الطريق. We make the طريق or the street perfect, smooth. That's our Islam. The ibadah, when we go straight, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and Muhammad sallallahu said, straight to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So shaitan, the one transgress what Allah said in Arabic, and also ibadah الذي عبد الطريق, the one who make the street straight and the deen is straight. That's in Arabic language. And also the ayah says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created jinn and ins only to worship Him subhanahu Allah. I mean, even the jinn and the human being worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Supposed to be.
And yeah, exactly. And when you go and I always say the Quran is the instruction manual for the human life, written by its designer. When I'm going to design a product, whether it's something like this, of course it comes with an overview. The do's and don'ts. Don't throw it in the water. Don't drop it on the ground. Use it like this. Use only these batteries and so on. And that's what the Quran is for us. So by going by this statement, we know exactly what our purpose is. So we can also see who our enemy is going to attack, what exactly our enemy is going to attack. Our enemy is going to attack your very reason for living and try to throw that into a state of chaos and not, in an even flow within the word I'm looking for here, balance, if you will. If you take a radio, its purpose of a radio is to play music, play sound. You throw a radio in the water, you go against the instruction manual of that radio, it is going to malfunction. It is going to break down. And that's exactly what is happening in the modern world to the human. Everything about our purpose is under attack. And slowly but surely, you are seeing people break down spiritually, breaking down physically, drug use, dependency, depression, anger. You see these young people nowadays, we talked about in the past lectures, how they have no purpose, in life. They are miserable. Because again, this is the purpose of our creation. It's been taken away from us. Now, what did the Shaytaan tell us? On this, he told us in Surah Nisa 119, and most certainly, I will lead them astray, and I will have them pursue vain desires. This is His promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will take your creation, who I'm better than, and trust me, I will lead them astray. And we're going to look at, for most of the rest of this lecture, the methodologies and the ways in which He's going to accomplish, but it all comes back to 5156. It all comes back to our very purpose of existence, why we are here, what He's going after. So you can see over the years, throughout Islamic history, throughout world history, what is the most common way that the Shaytaan has diverted our worship, our ibadah, away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You can go back to the oldest of times, you'll find one thing: idolatry. In the old days, idolatry, worshiping stones. And of course, any idolater would tell you it's not the stone, it's the spirit contained within. They would assign idols and statues. And you see this when Musa went and received the commandments. While he was there, what was going on down? You had the Israelites, the Hebrews, making a golden calf, to worship. You see idol worship in the time of Ibrahim. You see it in the people of Noah. And of course, you see it in our last prophet, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now you have different types of idolatry, different types of tricks that have been used over the years. Some, of course, is partners, with Allah. That you need these deities here to reach to God. You saw a lot of this going on in Mecca. You saw Alat, Al-Uzza, Anat, you saw these, deities. They were ways of getting to Allah. Most of the Meccans accepted Allah. They believed in him. But you had to go this way, in order to get to him. Then you had straight up idolatry. And we're going to get into some of that in the modern world as we built up later, which were just deities. You had it in Italy, in ancient Rome. You saw the different statues and depictions of different gods, Apollo. You saw in Greek culture, you saw the gods there and all the different statues. They were all symbolizing the god of this, the god of that, strength, the god of fertility, the god of the weather. Oh, no, I'm talking about an ancient time. We're building up, until where we're going to how it's progressed. But just like any criminal, anyone who's trying to deceive you, the Shaytaan is not going to stay with the same tactics. As that type of idolatry over the years, messengers came, the major religions formed, that type of idolatry faded, so to speak, or did it? We started finding the partners becoming more and more of a thing. You go and you look at the Catholic Church, you find the saints. They talk to a saint, the saint talks to God. You find it in Sufism. They have all these different saints. Every few years here in this country, you have another gentleman claiming that he's Jesus. And you have to follow him, to get to God. Oh, yeah, it's the most common cult leader is stating that he actually believes he is Jesus come again. You had David Koresh in Waco, Texas. He made that claim. There's a guy, he's in Russia now. They have pictures of him all over. And he says he's walking like this with the robe, and he's Jesus. And he has followers. Yeah. I'll show you a picture when we're done. I'll find it. But he's out there. And this is the common technique that you see after you find pure stone statue and idol worship, is you find the partners and the partner argument. I've had arguments with many Shia, over the years, who are very big on intercession. We were talking about this before the session tonight. I've had these discussions where they said, well, if you're going to a job interview, isn't it a good thing to have a reference? Isn't it a good thing to talk to somebody, to talk to the boss, to see if you get a job? I said, well, that's absolutely ridiculous, because you can see basically here in Quran 39:62, Allah created all things, and He is the agent on which all things depend. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying right here again, I created all. I'm what everything depends on. The good, the bad, everything comes from me. I have complete control of my creation. The concept of having to go to another man is as insulting as you can be. To believe that, and I've even heard stories, I was telling the imam here before we began, they were praying to the wife of an imam, to talk to the imam, to talk to God. I mean, you find all of this, which is nothing more than shirk. I mean, to be honest, that's exactly what it is, to try to shine it up and call it anything else. So we saw this. This concept has also infected, of course, the Christian religion. As well. When you go to an average Christian, you ask him, is Isa God or is he the son? You'll get a couple people say, oh no, clearly he's the son of God. They'll have their biblical reference from the book of, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. You ask another one, they will come and say, oh no, he's God in person. So they don't even have the same viewpoint on which one it is. Is Jesus God or is he the son of God? Both, of course, in our religion are wrong to make either such, statements. And we have several ayah, of course, that would back that up. But the concept of the man as a God has also been something we've seen the Shaytaan employ throughout history as well. You see the depictions, you had an old European artwork where they show God, he's got long, gray, flowing beard and the muscles, and he's touching man with the finger. And you see those depictions, you see the depictions, obviously, of Jesus, as God throughout the years. So you've seen this, whether it's through intercession, whether it's through straight up depicting human beings as God. We've seen this type, of idolatry over the years, as well.
In fact, something very important. I grew up in Egypt. Actually, my university, after high school, I went to Azhar school. I saw people in the Masjid al-Hussein. Actually, they think they clean Masjid al-Hussein until now. they making tawaf around the grave 7 times. And wallahi, one girl actually, not one, many, but one of the girls actually, we graduated together, me and her from university, Al-Azhar University. She had her certification like this, and she put the certification in the grave, on that grave, and she asked Hussein to accept her dua to get the job. And I told her, what you're doing is haram. Ask Allah. And you won't believe what happened to me. 100 people try to hit me. Actually try to kill me just to say, no, what you're doing is haram. That means those people, they believe the grave make a cross to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Mecca, the same thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لِيُقَرِّبُونَ إِلَى اللَّهِ زُلْفَى. Those the idols to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I agree with you 100% with this. Allah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's still in present time. It's the same thing.
Yeah, we're going to get into the modern versions of how this stuff has gotten even more tricky.
Allah.
Starts with stones, then after stones, it becomes depictions of men, then it becomes full-blooded men, and it becomes saints. And you just see the evolution of the Shaytan's tricks over time. That's why, of course, I entitled this The Biggest Trick, because we're going to get to how they do it in the modern world. Harken back to what the Shaykh said, Quran 21:66. Do not worship besides Allah that which cannot help you at all or harm you. It's Allah again stating clearly, these people cannot help you, they cannot harm you. What are you doing? I'm giving you the guide. How can you be a Muslim, as you say, these people were professing to be Muslim, and you read ayat like this and still proceed. Another one on that one. Those who you call on besides Allah are only slaves like yourselves. When you call on Isa, I used to joke with Christians when you say, hey, praise Jesus. I'm like, Jesus is saying, who's that? My name wasn't Jesus. It literally wasn't. I mean, you go look up the Hebrew language, his name literally wasn't Jesus. So you're not even calling his name right. Of course, as our Quran tells us, Jesus, I'm a slave of Allah. Worshiping me. I never commanded you to do this. You know, what are you doing? All these saints, all these figures we see throughout the years, all of them, as we are told and warned about this in the Quran right here, cannot help or harm you. They are just, as he said, this. I've seen this before. They do the tawaf around the grave. I've heard about that, and it's just, I was new at the time, and I'm like, what are they doing? Because I just got done reading the Quran several times, became pretty familiar with it. I'm like, I don't remember reading that, anywhere. And I just found whole cultures, built around this stuff. It's quite, interesting and puzzling. So yeah, we see God as a man, as I was getting back to there. That is the most common one that you saw from kind of the Middle Ages. Now we get to the modern day world and some of Shaytan's tricks. One is negation. This is something that got popularized from Charles Darwin's work, which is that God does not exist. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, he entitled a work called God is Dead. And God is Dead appeared in the New York Times in 1960, or Time Magazine, I'm sorry, not the New York Times. Time Magazine's cover in 1960 stating, "Is God Dead?" And this was dedicated to Nietzsche. This was a major American publication. It's in the archives. The bang, big bold letters, God is dead. This was the kind of the mantra of the modern era, was that mankind is the God. And you started seeing this. They call it the Übermensch in Germany, which means Superman. That's where we get the character who wears the cape and the tights. It was from the concept that mankind eventually would reach that level where we would become a Superman, where we would be God ourselves. And that's kind of the heart of a lot of atheism. Is a lot of atheism comes back to evolution. The evolution principles that we came from a single cell, double cell, quadruple cell, fish, jawless fish, jawed fish. Then we were an alligator. Then we were this. Then we were that. Then we were a monkey. Then we were man. And then after man, we become God. The Mormon religion, the tenets of the Mormon religion is that if you have enough wives and you're a good Mormon in this world, you become a God in the next life and you get your own kingdom. The whole entire state of Utah subscribes to the Mormon ideology. So you see, these ones are quite big, nowadays as well. Ones that just outright reject, the belief in God. And it's all, again, goes back to taking advantage of human weakness, pride. Every man, I'm going to be a God one day, this type of thing, feels good. You know, I used to grow up with people having these conversations. Oh, in 3,000 years, where humans are going to be able to fly with our minds and we're going to be controlling our reality. It hasn't happened yet. And I'd be willing to bet everything that I own, you know, my family and my very soul, that it's not ever going to happen, you know, because our Creator has not ordained it. But that's one of the more common ones you see. And again, these are the obvious ones. That's where I'm kind of building up here. But where we go is to the modern idolatry. The Shaytaan's biggest trick, to getting someone who professes la ilaha illallah, who is a Muslim, who believes, who reads Quran, but yet falls into this stuff accidentally. It's easy not to fall into negating God. It's easy not to fall into worshiping stones and idols and having intercession. But how are we going to guard ourselves against the things that we don't notice, the things that we don't in our own mind see even as a problem? Because why? We've been taught not to see it. We have been taught not to see these things from the time we were born, the way that we've been raised, television and the media. We've drawn into this world where this stuff is normal, where just 100 years ago it was alien. No one ever heard of the type of technology, the type of imagery and experiences that we were having. It's an unprecedented time, as I started off in my earliest lecture, where your very phone can be used as a weapon, you know, against you when it comes to haram content, haram viewpoints, and things like that. So when you look at modern idolatry, what are some examples of that? Well, you know, going back to the original purpose of ibadah, things that take you away slowly but surely from your purpose. One of the more common ones is Hollywood movies. A lot of people may see the term Hollywood, sounds nice, it looks pretty up there on the sign, but they have no idea where that came from. There was a group in ancient times, and we don't have much time to go obviously into all of their details. They were known as the Medes. This is where we get the term media from. Mediation. They were known to be into black magic, witchcraft, mind manipulation. And guess what they used in their rituals? Hollywood. Sticks, basically, for wands. They would cast spells. They referred to as Hollywood. So when you see the name that they chose for this, you know, you could say demonic brainwashing factory, it is not by accident that they chose Hollywood. They create dreams, they create false realities. If you go back and you look at the 1800s, being an actor was not a highly esteemed position. You were looked at, to be honest, lack of a better term, as a loser if you were an actor back in 1865 or 1871. People thought it was a joke of a profession. Your father would be shamed. But you flash forward to the advent of the motion picture and the creation of Hollywood and a lot of these film studios, Columbia Pictures. You see that word a lot too, don't we? District of Columbia and Washington, D.C., obviously. This comes back to a Babylonian deity known as Venus Columba, Queen Semiramis. You see her holding the torch. The Statue of Liberty is parried off this. It's very occult, pagan. Again, they even tell you in their studios and their images what exactly their purposes are. Hollywood has created heroes and idols out of men. People watch these people, they spin reality and disbelief, and they believe that Tom Cruise or Michael P. Jordan really are the people they present themselves in these films, and you see, they worship them. I mean, lack of a better term. They dedicate so much energy, time, and emotion into these people. Television shows and magazines are created all basically to talk about what these people eat, what these people are doing, where they're going for a holiday. I had a debate with a young lady about 15 years ago, and she said, "You can't tell me about history. I watch Entertainment Tonight." And I started laughing because her concept of history was entertainment. It was what was on the television. It was what some celebrity had done, you know, in their life. So someone would say, "Oh, well, we don't worship them," but you're dedicating your time and your energy to those people. How many times I've seen someone say, "Oh, I'll pray the Salah later. I want to finish the movie," when the Adhan goes off. What is that?
Go for it.
100% want him to say it? No, that's exactly what it is. I've seen, oh, Messi's got a corner kick coming. There's 15 minutes left in the game. I'm not going to basically go pray Salah. I can pray Salah later. I want to see if Messi can kick the round ball, through the net. You look up where these sports leagues, because we have, of course, the movies and we have Hollywood and all this stuff over here. With all of its countless depictions of these false deities we know as superheroes. You're seeing this now. You'll go to a mall here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You'll see a grown man, 35, 40 years old, walking around with superhero shirts. These are for kids. There was a guy, and I don't know how this stuff follows me or finds me. I always get weirdest stuff pops up into my, it's like Allah blessing me, give me stuff to talk about in the masjid. But there was a guy crying. He was actually crying because the new Indiana Jones movie was so bad. I mean, I was just watching like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, this level of devotion that the modern day person has to these false idols, it just blew my mind. That this actually affects your happiness. As the new movie you've waited for so many years for disappointment. You see the sports leagues. Nothing has caused division and takes advantage of cheap tribalism more than athletic competitions. You go everywhere the sport of soccer or football, as it's known as most of the world, is played. People fight. You've had stabbings and murders over this game. Messi and Ronaldo have turned into barroom brawls. People wanting to kill someone because you like the guy who kicked the ball in the net better than that guy who kicked the ball in the net. And I've seen so many times, in coffee shops in the Middle East, the adhan goes off in Saudi Arabia. No one's leaving the chair because Real Madrid and Barcelona won. And again, kufr. The Shaytaan, those people, I'm a Muslim. I believe. I read Quran. I do these things. They don't have any idea that they have fallen in to this form of idolatry. You are idolizing these human beings, whether you want to admit it or not. I mean, the way that you see people act when they see these people in public is ultra disturbing. I wasn't watching it. My wife had it on. I came back from the office. I'm walking through the living room, and it's a concert from Saudi Arabia because now they're modern and they have all that stuff. So, you got to have concerts, right? And it was an Egyptian singer, and you had women crying. When he came out there, he's out there and he's hitting his notes, and they're crying and screaming, "Oh my God, it's him!" And some of them had the husbands sitting right next to them. And I'm thinking, what husband takes his wife to a show to watch her scream and cry for another man? I mean, I found it on a spiritual level to be highly disturbing. And these were Muslim women, Muslim men, like doing this.
We want to go, that's why I'm asking you about
Yeah, continue.
So we have a lot of this stuff going on now. Again, it's shirk, it's sin that we don't even see it coming. We don't realize it. I grew up in this culture, and who released the newest record was some of the most important things in my life when I was 15 or 16. We used to go down to the record store and we used to talk, oh, when is that new album going to be available in the store? And we would be miserable. But you know what? I was the most unhappiest I have ever been in my life during that period of time. None of that stuff filled the void. None of that stuff brought happiness, but you kept buying it because you kept thinking it was going to give you happiness. It's so ingrained. And we're going to do something on music, I think me and the Imam here in a couple of weeks, to really kind of go into all the stuff, especially modern music, that is horrible. The way it's leading the youth astray and all those type of things. But this is what the Shaytaan, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I was talking with someone the other day, and we agreed that it's the most it's the most randomest thing ever for another man listening to another man singing about his dawah, and he's like singing along and crying about it. It's like the most pathetic thing a man can do. Like going into the Quran, something that your creator has given to you, but no, I listen to the man talking about his own girl.
You 100%, brother. I love the way you think. I mean,
Let's finish, inshallah.
I was having that same conversation with a guy in my old job that I had. We were talking about rap music, and I had said, you paid $17.95 for, and that's how much an album. I'm out of touch with stuff now in a long time. I said, you paid $17.95 to listen to another man tell you how great he is. I mean, that's what you've done. When you buy some of this modern music, you literally are paying another human being money to tell you how great he is. What kind of transaction is that? When you buy, clothing or you buy some food, you have a practical use for it. But when you're buying and purchasing this music, what are you getting back? You go to a concert, these people pay hundreds of dollars to scream and yell for 3 hours with noise that will rot your eardrums. And they're paying hundreds of dollars. And what is the artist doing? He's just singing. You're not getting a product from this. All you're getting is a memory at best. I mean, it is a very, we'll talk about music in a little later lecture, but it's a very meaningless, unfavorable transaction for the buyer. So we get back to, again, we're talking about the modern idolatry. So you have Hollywood. And again, also with musicians, if you look at the backgrounds of these individuals, where they came from, you know, a lot of the occult practices, a lot of them believe. There was a famous musician in the United States by the name of Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan said in the 1970s, he said, "I sold my soul for this, and I'm completing the process." On American television, it's available on YouTube. And they asked him, "Who did you sell your soul to?" He started laughing. And he said, "The Grand Architect." And this is a slang term in some of the Masonic schools for Lucifer, aka the Shaytaan. He admitted right there on camera that he had sold his soul for fame and fortune, and that he was only producing music still to this day as part of the bargain to keep the process going. We've seen numerous rock bands profess the same thing. We've seen a lot of these rappers in the modern world, in some of their lyrics, are talking openly about how they have sold their soul, you know, to make a record and to put it out. So yes, again, back into Hollywood, music, sports as I was talking about with your soccer, with your American football. If you look at some of the founders of some of this, these are people involved in gambling, drug trade, some of these billionaires who own these teams. You look at their background, it's not pretty. You know, filled with Masons, secret society, cult members, all to steal your energy. And that's what all this comes back to. Taking away your ibadah, taking away the most valuable thing a Muslim has, this earth, this time. We can do so much with our time. Play with our children, you know, read Quran, grow in knowledge, do a good deed, make the world a better place. But what do you find people doing in this country on Sunday afternoons? 9 hours in front of the television watching American football. 9 hours from 1 o'clock to 11 o'clock. There are people that it does not end. If it's soccer, it's from in England, it's over the same thing on Saturday, you know, afternoons. Grown men.
The game, 9 hours?
Well, there'll be 3 different games. They watch all in a row. One from 1 to 4, one from 4 to 7, and another one from 8 to 11. So from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 11, people are consumed like a zombie in front of the television set. And it's been proven that when you're watching a film or a television program, what happens is your brain waves start to slow down and you get put into like a trance, a dreamlike state, where at that point, your creative, your analytical mind is shut down. So you get sucked into the program. There's a reason they call it a program. They don't use that word by accident because you are being programmed. And you have turned down your brain waves are in almost like a sleep-like state, and then that's when they start putting all the whispers and all the suggestions you find in television programs into your mind. It is no accident that you go pre-1960 in the United States. You see a completely different society. You see a completely different world. You see husbands and wives. You see families. No drug dependencies. There's always been alcoholism in this culture. We've always had some problems in this society with that, but not the immorality that you saw after the advent of television. Because when you put that television set in your living room, you gave them a portal, a gateway into the family. And it started off normal. You had family-friendly shows, but over time, step by step, you started seeing it getting worse and worse. And then now, why even have the television? You've got the mobile phones, you've got the iPads. The young people now are able to have that stuff. And it's the same effect. Whether you're staring at the screen like this or you're staring at the screen like that. False idols, stealing our energy, stealing our time, keeping us fat, lazy, and stupid, and unspiritual. I mean, and you look at the news, the programming that's there, I mean, it's almost safe to say, almost at this point, 100% of it is a lie. We are going to talk about Islamophobia maybe next week or the week after when I get scheduled. We're going to talk about all the images of Islam in the media and how we shouldn't get mad at people for being Islam. We should understand why and understand they have a choice sometimes with all the misguidance stuff that you were seeing from this television. You have something you want to add?
Actually, Brother Youssef mentioned in the beginning, I don't want to interrupt, very, very important. If the person watching game or a movie, in it started Salat al-Dhuhr, and because long movie until after Asr, and he cannot get out to the game, watching the game or the movie, and he die after Asr, he die as a kafir. Why? Hadith al-Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to pay attention to this hadith. قال من ترك أحدكم صلاة واحدة متعمدا فلقد برئت منه ذمة الإسلام. Whoever lifts salah intentionally is out of the circle of the Islam. Another hadith بالبخاري ومسلم قال العهد الذي بيننا وبينهم الصلاة فمن تركها فقد كفر. The difference between us and the Christian is a salah. Whoever discard the salah, forget the salah, is a kafir. Very important surah, all of you memorize. أرأيت الذي يكذب فذلك الذي يدعو ولا يحض فويل الذين هم لزمتهم فويل woe for the people pray. I know الذين هم they forget the salah. Give me attention. Ibn Abbas رحمه الله عنه قال if the one he before the mean he pray before the time on time, but for example Salat al-Maghrib, for example 8 o'clock, and he pray 10 minutes before, that is sahun. What is wail? What does it mean wail? Wail, river in Jahannam. River in Jahannam. What is inside this river in Jahannam, in hellfire? Boil of woman after birth. A blood woman after birth. Don't he delay the salah? Not give me attention. Not the praying. He delayed the salah. Is in that river in Jahannam. Wailu lil musallin lid'am an salatin sahun. Just forget to pray on time. And another ayah 118 Surah An-Nisa. وإذا قمتم الصلاة فأقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. 118 Surah An-Nisa. The salah is a certain time, no delay. So my advice, whatever situation is, any situation, I have to pray on time. I don't want my soul leaving me and become a kafir, and I pray 5 times and fast Ramadan and make Hajj. So sorry to interrupt.
Well, no worries. I like the extra big and a chance to rest my voice to get some water too. So that's always a good thing. Oh, no worries. Very good ayah here, because I always like to give a lot of bad news, a lot of bad things that are going on in the world. Of course, the best news is that we are following the right deed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, my servants, no authority will you have over them except for the deviators. So we have a choice. They call it in English the satanic bargain. That he cannot make you do anything. Everything has to be free will. You have a conscious choice. I just wanted to help tonight with some of the things to help point some people in the right directions to spot some of the things that are happening in their life. We have a choice. It's very easy to fix, very easy to change. We have a choice that when the adhan goes off, that we know where our priorities should be. Or our priorities with watching a man kick a ball in the net, or our priorities with the one true God, or our priorities with our very purpose, the ibadah that we were created, that's going to ultimately bring us perfect happiness, both in this world and the next. All these things are distractions. All these things are Shaytan's biggest trick, tricking you he doesn't exist and getting you to commit shirk without you realizing that you were doing it. Modern day idolatry, hero worship. Whether it's superheroes we talked about, celebrities, basketball players, football players, People know more about Cristiano Ronaldo than they know about the Prophet. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I mean, you ask the average Muslim in some parts of the world where I was living, they'll tell you where Ronaldo was born. He was cut from the junior squad. He failed in this game. Then he did this. It's like it's a heroic journey to being a millionaire. You know, ask them basically outline some basic tenets of the seerah. And that's just, unfortunately, it's sad. You know, I bet it here, they'll know everything about, you know, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady, you know, when he was cut again from the high school team and he switched his diet and all this. And again, one of the things that they do is these people are rewarded with insurmountable wealth, tons of wealth. You know, and that's when you have one guy over here is a billionaire, and then you have the nice, humble imam or religious leader who's driving a humble car, living in a humble home. You know, you see this as it's not flashy.
That's me?
No, I'm not talking to you. I mean, to myself. I mean, in general, I mean, anyone who is on a path of knowledge. You don't see these people walking around with 30 gold chains, you know, on their neck. You don't see them driving around a Bentley. So some young person says, I want to be like that guy. He's got the women screaming for him. He's got the gold. He's got the money. You know, then you look at how most of these guys, not all of them, but most of these guys end up. And there was, I was showing my son the other day. It was a wrestler I grew up watching when I was a teen. And they showed him now, and I mean, he is huge. He's out of shape. He's on drugs. He's semi-homeless. I mean, it's just, it's sad. You know, that the fame, you know, had sucked him in, got to him, took him away from that purpose. Like I said, if you take a radio, you throw it in the water, the radio is going to malfunction. That's the human being without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our purpose. We are going to malfunction. In one way or another, we are going to shut down. And we're going to break down. Sometimes for some, it's fast. Some people, it's slow. But yeah, I guess, anyone have any questions, comments, anything we want to add? Had so much more, we don't have time to do.
So today, actually, it was a very nice day with everyone. Alhamdulillah. Especially you are joined us.
Oh, thank you very much. You mentioned that in the magazine you long time ago. God might be dead, but Allah could never be dead. Allah is always there. Allah is alive. God is different. Allah is different.
Well, that's what began in America and West. It became, you're a smarter person if you don't believe in God. This was kind of the approach they tried to go through. Another one of the tricks of the Shaytaan was that a person is more intelligent when he doesn't. We even have a guy I work with now. I'm working on it, but he always says, "Oh, you have your imaginary friends in the sky." You know, and that's how a lot of them describe people who believe in God. And it started around that period of time with philosophers like Nietzsche, with a gentleman named Schopenhauer, and they started promoting this, that, you know, the intellectual, you know, he knows there's no God. So you started seeing the scientific community, and all of them got aboard on this. So this is starting to be what has permeated. But you're seeing now amongst the young people a renaissance, a return to religion, because there's been several generations now who've lived godless, and they've seen what it did to their parents. They're seeing what it's doing to the society, and you were seeing so many people reverting back to their natural state of Islam. I mean, Islam is on the rise. The youth in Turkey, I was reading an article about them the other day. They're more religious than their parents. We are seeing it come back. And you're going to see it in Gulf countries as well. As the young people are given an alternative, at first that alternative seems fun. Oh, we're going to have concerts, and we're going to be like the West. And they're going to see that it provides no long-lasting happiness or benefit. And you will see a religious resurgence. We always come back because it's our natural fitra. It's who we are, how we were made.
Sunnahfollowers, any questions, Sunnahfollowers?
Yes, Sheikh. There's one question from one of the youth here. He said that this may have been answered before, so excuse him. He said, but his mother was talking about this. Since the aura of a man is from his navel to his knee, can we watch basketball? Is it wrong to watch basketball on TV?
That's actually a very good question, because you see lots of these sports leagues and swimming, these competitions where, I mean, the men are basically, you know, half naked. I mean, in a sense, based on, Islamic principles.
Can you speak Islamically or was it scientifically with the brother Yasser Taimur?
That's actually something that my little brother had asked me before. And the response that I gave him to that is that it explicitly says in the Quran that it's haram to look at another man or to approach another man with any kind of lewd action or any kind of homosexual action. So I would tell the brother that it all comes down to his intention. Because if he's just watching the sport for like competition purposes and to see like adrenaline and to like better himself as an athlete, then that's one thing. But if he is feeling anything else, then that's one thing that he wants to assess himself, But I'd say it comes down to that intent, and that's the response that I gave to my little brother when he asked me that.
Brother Taimur, he's active in our masjid here. Jazakallah khair for that. Brother Taimur has one hadith, the first hadith in Bukhari and Muslim. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Every action with the intention. I used to actually play with the soccer. I'm addicted to soccer. We play soccer almost the short, but we weren't watching the person, we're watching the ball, the ball. But if my intention to look at the tie to that person, that's something, and the ball something else. إنما أعماله every action with the intention.
Yeah, I watch basketball. I have guilty pleasures every now and then. I like to sit around and just relax.
I wish I can do that.
Yeah, when I have time,
I didn't have time
very often. Yeah, he's telling me that his day was loaded up.
That's his friendship time I'm here.
But a lot of the players now, they are even wearing the sleeves. You're seeing this as more and more common. When I was growing up in the 1980s, the guys were wearing shorts that are what you see, unfortunately, from some women in modern day society. The shorts were really short. Now the shorts are past the knee. In most cases, the guys are wearing sleeves underneath the tank tops, and even most of them are actually very well dressed.
Yeah, brother and sister, I go every day. I pray Fajr. I have a class every day, Salat al-Fajr. And then I pray Duha. And I read Quran until my juz finish. I straight go to the gym. But what the gym, I with my headphone, the only one I listen to is Sheikh Hassan. Sheikh Hassan reads Quran, I read with the Sheikh. I play all my exercise 1 hour exactly in the gym with Sheikh Hassan. And in fact, 2 ladies actually came to me. Sometimes when I read Quran, Sheikh Hassan, I live and I forget myself and I'm in the gym. Why? I've got too much music. And if I recite Quran, so what kind of music you listen to? Excuse me? I was shocked. What kind of music? So I'm listening. I forgot I'm in the gym. I thought I'm in the masjid. I went to Sheikh Hassan. I said, what? What? And then I found out I'm in the gym. So, and believe it or not, you listen, please listen to that music. There is wow, it's a symphony. Wow, it's so beautiful. As by the way, it's the Quran, I'm a Muslim. So we can do anything. And actually, a lot of people in the gym, I don't have to. I go to exercise, I do whatever I want. But the key, what is my intention in the gym? Exercise. To look a great sin, of course. Especially for men, imagine. Ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib, the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and marry Fatima. They are in Hajj, the first Hajj with Rasulullah, the first Allah's Hajj with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah walking, and Ali next to him. And Ali, one of the ladies, he was in Hajj. There's no niqab in Hajj, and Ali he looked. I think she's an attractive lady. And what he did, Rasulullah قال الأولى لك والثانية عليك. The first one is for you. The second one, I look, that for Allah will judge you. There is no sin for this one, but not like just one look. My point, wallahi, and actually, would you look? Actually, sister, alhamdulillah, they are right. But especially for brother, when you look, you believe in a dot, dark dot becoming the heart. One person, and another lady, until your heart becomes completely dark. And our iman down. Our iman is supposed to up and down. Hadith Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, well, the great Sahaba, he came to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, قال يا Abu Bakr, I am a munafiq. He accused himself, he's a munafiq, hypocrite. قال, what's happening? Why? When we with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, our iman yazid wa yazid. Rasulullah is speaking about the Jannah and the paradise, Allah. We love that. But we go to our house, it's our wife and the kids and this, our iman down. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq himself, he felt the same feeling. They run to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's a munafiq. So why? Say Rasulullah so and so and so. And say, number one, ابتسم sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He smiled sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قال إن الإيمان يزيد وينقص. The iman increase and decrease. But if my iman, my belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrease, I go back to him. And Allah يحب المستغفرين. Allah love those people. Astaghfirullah wa atubu. May Allah forgive them. So our deen, قال حديث, another hadith قال إن هذا الدين يسر. The deen is يسر. ومن يشاهد الدين أحد إلا غلب. Whatever deen extreme, the deen breaking down. Our deen, alhamdulillah, very simple and very easy. Very easy, alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Brother Youssef, inshallah, we're going to continue with that, inshallah, Rabbil Ameen. So, Jazakumullah khair.
Just very quick, Jazakumullah khair for all the pictures. And what we are doing here is awakening our youth and our community about this danger that might come to our houses and destroy all the ground. So it's a very good thing to have this emphasis in those lectures. But the thing is, we need to reach out to the majority of people. We are here attending this lecture, we learn from it. And it will awaken our attention and give us purpose, but we're aware of what's waiting for us. But many people who are not attending this might be missing this opportunity. So the thing is, it's very good. We have our own videos, but maybe we have to look for other alternatives, other ways to reach out to people and place. We might have the same lecture again, or maybe for a good gathering, or plan it like later time. We try to be like, try to announce it. For weeks of time.
We do that.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, we do all the time.
Absolutely. So just like try to find ways to have more youth attending this, because it's so important. And so
We like to get into where like an archive on YouTube has been discussed. We're going to be taking that, taking that in the future. That way, I mean, not only the people here, but for years down the line, somebody can actually view and talk. Because I do want to focus most of my stuff on the modern world, because this is what I've noticed is these slippery slopes that our youth are falling into and getting sucked into these traps. Like next week, we'll talk about Islamophobia. We're going to talk about nationalism, inshallah.
What day will be next week? What day, the date of next week?
It would be, today is the 1st, so next week will be the 8th.
Okay. So it's the next Saturday I'm here. The following Saturday, I have honeymoon in Mexico, inshallah. So we'll be here. Still, brother Youssef is going to be here. But I'm going to be in the 11th of July. I'm going to Mexico with my girlfriend. Inshallah. Yes.
What's the best way to hold on to Islam and not slip, I guess?
I have found my best way is turning off the television set.
Yeah,
Because like right now, what happens is when I'm at work, I'm occupied with my day job. I come home, immediately I eat dinner, I start exercising. And lately I've been reading at least one juz of the Quran. And then I've been trying to practice on my Arabic. So I'm now trying to learn Arabic because I'm going to start my master's degree program soon. And I want to master that aspect of it. So by doing that, I keep myself constantly away from all of this. Because I grew up with this stuff, and it's hard for me. It was harder for me maybe than somebody who's not grown up with it as much to turn the TV off, to turn off all this useless stuff that distracts us. And I found, again, this past like few weeks and months I've been doing this, I'm so much more happier. I have so much more clarity. I mean, I read my lunch break at work. I try to read some hadith, 5 or 6. I'll go back to ayah.
Proud of you, mashallah.
Just repetition, you know, because the more I read Quran, the better person I find I am, the happier I am,
Alhamdulillah.
the more knowledgeable that I become.
أسأل الله أن يهدينا جميعا. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه واهدنا فيمن هديت واهدنا أولادنا يا رب العالمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.